Hi, I'm Lianne Potter. I have two roles. So one of them is the Information Security Transformation Manager at Covéa Insurance, but I'm also the founder and researcher and consultant at the Securist, which is a anthropology cybersecurity consultancy firm that aims to bring culture at the heart of security. So on a day-to-day basis, my aim is to make sure that whatever client I'm working for, security is intrinsic by design, and security is done really well when you don't ever notice that it's happening, when it's not that kind of red flag in the air saying, oh, actually, is this going to put a halt in our project? But when it's actually embedded into the culture, where it's a culture that people feel trusted and able to come to you with problems rather than hide them and then show you up at the last minute. So I spend a lot of my time speaking with stakeholders and understanding actually where are the gaps and where are the challenges. And that's not necessarily from a technical capabilities perspective, but from a cultural perspective. Why isn't this team talking to this team? And why are these people engaging on this project? Why are they not seeing security as a priority? And understanding actually what are the motivators there? And a lot of it is down to communications and that community building and being able to understand actually there's a lot of times when security people don't understand that the controls and technical requirements that they put in place have a massive impact. And that's a lot of the time because they don't speak to the end user and say, actually, what does a day in your life look like? I provide that translation for them. I add value because it's what we always seem to forget is that, yes, it is, people, processes, and technology, but the people is the real crucial element. Whatever we make, whatever we create, we're serving a person at the end of the day. And the people that are creating it, they're people. So we need to really hone in on why the people element is really important. So in adding value, I'm reiterating that message because you sell people the reasons why something is good because it benefits them in their lives. It makes their lives easier. You're going to get a better response than if you just say, actually, well, it's to improve efficiencies, it's to tick a box on compliance. Actually, bring people along with that journey. And a lot of that work I do is through storytelling. So once I've got a great understanding of what people's day-to-day is like, I'm able to reiterate their story for them and tell it in such a way that actually makes sense to other people in different departments. So say, for example, a security team is struggling to get an initiative off the ground, they're not being engaged soon enough. Selling that story is why that's a problem for the security team, and why actually it has a real impact on their morale, for example, because obviously they've got to sort of put in extra shifts because that resource wasn't allocated soon enough, and how that has an impact on their day-to-day lives and their private lives, to be honest. And if actually you put that human spin on it, people go, actually, we're all part of a team, we're all working towards a common goal, which is to deliver great products and services for our clients. But if we're not working together towards this, how can we achieve those goals? And it's about putting the human back in the center of the piece. I love just finding out about every aspect of what people do. So the joy of my role is, even though I absolutely adore security is my main bag, I get to find out about all the different elements of the tech industry. So I get to speak to cloud engineers, developers, and even down to people like working with the call centers, for example, and finding out actually all these different elements and listening to how everything all interconnects. It's a really point of privilege to be able to understand all these different elements of the way people work and the way people organize their day. Because for me, tech is such an exciting industry, and so I love to just consume every aspect of it. And this type of role, and particularly with the consultancy work as well, allows me to really enjoy understanding how all this tech innovation really works. But not only that, I find that once I sort of hear about the way one company, for example, is doing something, there's so many things that, even if that's industry specific, you can apply the same principles. And so all this knowledge sharing to me is a really exciting part of it. Yeah, so I was an out-and-out techie to sort of start with. So I've got quite a varied in terms of the technical career that I had. Was quite varied. So I started off as a developer, and I became sort of specialized in. I got my Scrum Master to start with, and I did the ITEL, which helped me get a really good understanding of actually the sort of more strategic business side of how product and development is working. But then I fell head over heels in love with security, and while I was a dev, I got my certified security professional, which was based around web app security, so I got that one. But I think going back to my original master's degree, which was in anthropology, that's where I've definitely had more sort of mileage, actually, which is a bit unusual for someone in tech to say actually they've had their humanities degree give them more mileage in tech. But I think it really is, it put into perspective that human element that I really want to drive forward. So the Anthro Securist was there. We did our first event last week. So it's a relatively new consultancy business. It's been something I've been doing for on and off for a while, but now it's an official thing. So I've been doing it ad hoc, but now it's got its own legs. So I want to see that grow and develop, and I've really been enjoying actually talking to people as an anthropologist in their environments and sort of explaining how understanding the human element is really, really important to cybersecurity. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that grows and develops. And one of the most exciting things for me is I've seen, even in the last few months, a rapid increase in roles going out in cybersecurity that are centered around security awareness and training and culture. And to me, that's so indicative of actually the tides are changing, and that there is a real appetite to consider beyond actually, the rules and responsibilities and even the compliance necessities of what we need to achieve as a business from a cybersecurity perspective. But how do we, again, make sure it's not just a tick box? How do we make sure that actually that culture is there to support people when something does go wrong? They can come to us and not feel retribution, but actually come to us soon enough that we can act on it and really deliver what we need to do to make sure our customers and our people are safe. I think the least favorite part of the role is to continually sort of challenge expectations of what a cybersecurity professional needs to look like. So I have a sort of non-traditional background. I retrained relatively late in my, career into cybersecurity. So I got into tech in my 30s from a non-technical background. I was a project manager for a charity to start with, and got into the industry because I was interested in actually doing tech for good. So that's when I decided to teach myself how to code and get my first job in tech. Because at the time, it seemed to me the best way to actually be hands-on and do tech for good was actually to be part of the actual creation of products and services. So I think one of the challenges I have is, I'll sometimes come to a forum like, well, how can you comment on this? You've not been in the industry very long. Coming up to about 5 years now in the industry. And I think that mentality of you need to be almost like a lifer, you need to have done the whole, sort of traditional route of, computer science degree and, paid your dues that way, is one of the reasons why the human element of tech and particularly cybersecurity does keep falling down. It's because we keep shutting ourselves off to the possibility of different perspectives, different experiences. And to me, that is one of the frustrations, is actually trying to change that mindset of people have lots of different things to bring to the table. And we're actually better off knowing, particularly from non-technical people, about the technical controls we put in place. How much does asking someone to reset their password, once a month annoy someone? You need to ask those questions, because if you don't know, then that's when the workarounds happen. So to me, the biggest frustration is a bit of closed-mindedness that is changing, but there is still a bit of closed-mindedness in the industry about where people have come from, what their expertise are, not giving people that forum to be able to discuss ideas, innovations, and challenges. Yeah, so when I was an out-and-out techie, one of my most favorite jobs was when I was working as a SOC analyst at the for NHS Digital at the seam, and Splunk was my favorite tool. I was in hog heaven, just digging into the logs of those of the network and things like that. That was my favorite tool. At the moment, it's a lot more stakeholder engagement, stakeholder management. So the tool sides of it has gone to the wayside. But on an evening, I am very much hands-on. I'm still doing my hack the boxes. I'm still doing try hack me. That still is very much my passion. They're fantastic tools. Immersive Labs also have a community lab edition. Without Immersive Labs, I wouldn't be in cybersecurity. I can guarantee that. So I think being adaptable has really, really helped. Even in this short space of time of being in the tech industry, about 5 years, I've done loads of different jobs. I've been a Scrum Master for a bit. I've been a developer for a bit. I was very much a SOC analyst, so very highly technical job in cybersecurity. Now I'm doing this role in security transformation and also the consultancy work. That ability to be able to say, actually, I don't need to be wedded to an idea or a thought. I can keep changing and actually gaining those skills where possible, and building up that repertoire. That's not to say it's not important to specialize. It really is. And there has been a thread throughout my career journey where I have been really interested in actually the human element of things like inside a threat, and and that sort of just trickle through, particularly as a SOC analyst. Actually a lot of it was monitoring how are people responding to password changes. Is this them? Understanding, is this typical human behavior? So that thread has been throughout, but doesn't stop me from actually being able to look at different roles and put my hand up and say, I'd like to try that element of this role and see how it goes, and use those expertise to really feed into the rest of the work I'm doing. And what that's allowed me to do is, particularly, for example, if I'm speaking to developers, I understand where they're coming from. I have sat there, during a 2-week sprint and gone, I've got these deliverables to do. And then security have come in and said, this needs fixing. I can understand where that frustration and challenge has come from. So it's about being able to not only pick up the necessary technical skills, for example, but also the ability to understand people's perspective. That's been so vital. Just having that emotional intelligence to know the things that you're putting in place do have an impact has been absolutely vital to the work I do. The biggest achievement so far, there's been a few that I've been really proud of. It's not exactly cyber specific, but because my own journey, I taught myself how to code. I wanted to really lift the lid and sort of say, actually, it's a lot easier to learn the basics. And the really important reason for learning the basics is because I can really see a world where you go into a workplace, and if you say, I can't open a Word document, for example, people would raise their eyebrows and go, actually, are you for us? I see a world where eventually, very soon in the future, people will be like, oh, can you just update this website? And if you can't do, so for example, the basics of HTML and CSS, for example, you're going to have some raised eyebrows. So I wanted to start a community of digital literacy where we teach people the basics of technical skills. People are then able to learn how to ask the right questions. So I helped at NHS Digital, and I've helped Covéa set up adult coding clubs for non-technical staff. And that's just a few weeks course where they learn the basics to start with HTML and CSS. And so these people who've never written a line of code in their life, are creating websites from scratch within a matter of hours. And it gives them such a confidence boost. But the knock-on effect is when they go to those cross-functional team meetings, instead of glazing over when the dev starts talking, they can challenge the dev and say, actually, I know you can do this. And it cuts out that sort of lack of engagement piece, and it now enables us to be really innovative and collaborate more and really share that ideas and experience, what I was talking about before, because without that, we don't know people's experience. We can only build things based on our own experiences, so we need to bring more people into that frame. So that's what I'm most proud about, putting those courses on and seeing people really thrive in their tech careers as a result of it.